Joel meeting. This is the final board meeting of our superintendent, Dr. Olwen Herron, who's been here for 7 years through a lot of ups and downs and has had a steady hand throughout. So I just want to acknowledge that at the outset of this meeting. I'm sure there will be comments at various points, and just acknowledge that it's a bittersweet night, I'm sure, for her and for many people who've worked closely with her for many years. Now I would like to ask for a motion to certify closed session, please.
Madam Chair, I certify to the best of each member's knowledge the Williamsburg-James City County School Board, while in closed session, discussed only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meetings stated in Virginia law, and that the only such public matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
Thank you, Mrs. Henley. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Riffle.
Mrs. Hunley.
Aye.
Mr. Riffle.
Aye.
Dr. Cavazos.
Aye.
Ms. Chen.
Aye.
Mrs. Donner.
Aye.
Mr. Hosang.
Aye.
Mrs. Ortego.
Aye. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Riffle. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hosang.
Mr. Riffle.
Aye.
Dr. Cavazos.
Aye.
Chen.
Aye.
Mrs. Donner.
Aye.
Mr. Hosang.
Aye.
Mrs. Hunley.
Aye.
Mrs. Ortego.
Aye. Dr. Herron, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes.
Please stand if you're able.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, I will now, hold on. My thing is not moving. Open up the public hearing on FY26 operating budget. Mrs. Donner, do we have any speakers tonight?
We do. Sorry, my computer shut down on me.
Do you need this?
Thank you. It is at this point in our meeting where citizens are invited to address the board. Those citizens desiring to speak. Those citizens desiring to speak have submitted speaker cards to the clerk prior to the start of tonight's meeting. These speakers are asked to come to the podium when their names are called, state their names for the record, and direct their comments to the chair of the board. It is the board's interest and desire that all comments are heard and respected. Hence, the citizens are asked to not engage in applauding, verbal outbursts, or any other type of demonstrations during the presentations. Personnel matters are not considered in public meetings. Therefore, the board requests that all speakers refrain from making reference to specific individuals in any form or fashion. Though the board does not respond to your comments are heard and appreciated. Each speaker is allocated 2 minutes to make their presentation, and the board asks that you respect this time limitation. Also, please be reminded that no time may be yielded to another speaker. Your acceptance and adherence to these guidelines will be greatly appreciated. Thank you, Madam Chair, and my directions are concluded.
Thank you, Mrs. Donner.
Our first speaker is Marco Sardi.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Herron. My name is Marco Sardi, and I'm the president of WJCEA. I'm here on behalf of the other members of our organization and the other staff and community members who have given their support to the educators who are here tonight and those who are watching at home to share with you some of the needs we have collected based on data that we have gathered from staff in and out of the classrooms and those that we have observed ourselves as those staff. The full findings and comments were sent to the board earlier this afternoon for your reference, but I want to highlight some of the broad strokes of the information you may need to make the best decision tonight. The staff and students who we interact with are the most affected by your budget, so please keep that in mind as I'm sharing this data. With over 230 responses representing over 10% of WJCC staff, 75% of respondents supported the findings of the compensation study that you received last month. Specifically, in regard to the laid out recommendations on the calibrated teacher pay scale, of the 128 teachers who responded, 124 stated the most important pay scale change is to the longevity pay and the stipends. As someone who receives 2 of those stipends for running after-school programs and the JBMS Orchestra, I would encourage the board to examine when the last time these stipends were adjusted for inflation or cost of living. And finally, the number 1 listed budget priority outside of pay was the concern over rises in health insurance rates eclipsing any pay increases that may be received next year. This is especially concerning for the lowest third of our staff in compensation, who are the most affected by pay rate changes to the health insurance coverage. Our goal as educators is to present you with this information so you can make an informed decision and to know what your staff will view as the most helpful when designing a budget of need and presenting to partners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sardi.
Our next speaker is Andrew Kaysen.
Good evening. My name is Andy Kaysen. I'm the treasurer of WJCEA. I want to thank Dr. Herron for many years of service as not only our superintendent, but also an educator. Thank you. The budget of need. You are, I believe it's somewhere in Virginia law or the Constitution. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but it's somewhere in there where you guys are charged with creating our budget of need. And I implore you to take a look at many of your employees' comments in the survey results that we sent to you today, what Marco has cited before in the speech before. Please take our voices into consideration when you construct your budget of need. And it seems pretty clear that we're expecting this board to take bold action, and that means fully implementing the compensation study recommendations. As we get into this conversation about the budget, now I know you guys had a session just before now, I didn't see it, but hopefully that went well. I would just say from our past year's conversation, you need to prioritize your employees who do the educating, and at least prioritize them over your relationship with your funders, because it is, again, your obligation to create a budget of need. I remember maybe it was like 2 years ago, we asked for a 10% raise, and we hemmed and hawed about that. There was some robust debate on this board, and we finally decided, well, sorry, y'all finally decided for a 10% raise. And the funders came back, not quite enough to get us 10, but you can see where many years of not taking bold action like that can leave us, and that's where we are today. Far behind the region, far behind our competitors for employees. So I recommend you follow through just like you did 2 years ago and take bold action on behalf of your employees, your bus drivers, your teachers, your bus aides, your custodians, teachers' assistants, all those things that make, all those people who make the magic happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kaysen.
Our next speaker is Amy Quirk.
Good evening, Superintendent and members of the school board. I want to congratulate the superintendent on her retirement, and on behalf of the village, thank you for your years of service and your partnership with our organization. For the budget, I wanted to urge the board to pursue regionally competitive salaries and implement the compensation study recommendations for our teachers, our custodians, our bus drivers, and other support staff. These staff work tirelessly to support our students, and they deserve competitive compensation, and it is the only way that we can keep our division fully staffed. And this is really affecting our students every day. Without enough bus drivers, our students are suffering. Teachers at my child's school, Matthew Whaley, reported that 30 students had to drop out of the SHIP after-school programs when the transportation was pulled. This is a serious equity issue. Those are the students that rely on the transportation and that benefit the most from having this freely available enrichment activities after school. So I strongly encourage you to make us the best, the most competitive, and most attractive place for our staff to work. And also, not as much related to the budget, but I also want to support the campaign to rename James Blair. When this new school opens, the name of an enslaver should never have been revived to begin with. So please act quickly to right this mistake. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Quirk.
And our final speaker is Jessica Anderson.
And as a reminder, this is a public hearing on the budget, the operating
Yes.
budget. Yeah.
So thank you for being here tonight, and I just want to, on the budget, yes. Obviously, we have some concerns. The last speaker just discussed it. I work at Matthew Ailey. I'm one of the wellness coordinators, and we had to cancel 30 students because of lack of transportation. And this is a program, the Student Health Initiative program, that is dedicated to our students who are more vulnerable and typically less fortunate students that do not have access to these recreational activities outside of our school system. And we had to turn them away, and that's really disheartening. And it's the fact that we are not incentivizing these employees to stay, to be hired. They are going to other neighboring districts. The state has done a JLOC report time and again, and it's shown at the state level is very much underfunding public education. So the fact that we are even less than that outside of the region is very disheartening. I know you had your joint meeting, and there was talk of us being a very prestigious school district. The fact that my 17-year-old daughter has to get on a bus and drive 50 minutes to take a CNA program every day, and she is only one of 6 students that were accepted into the program because of the constraints of transportation, tells me we are not as prestigious as we like to believe. So we definitely need to be making some large strides, and that is especially in regards to funding our educators, funding our support staff, and making sure that we are getting good employees and retaining them. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. That was our final speaker for our public hearing, so we will close the public hearing. And we will move on to announcements and the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Did you ever wonder what it's like behind the wheel of a school bus? If so, please join us on Monday, January 27th, between 8 a.m. and noon at Warhill High School to test drive a bus. With our talented trainers supporting you, get a feel for driving a bus in the Warhill parking lot. Then fill out an application to become a WJCC Schools bus driver. Pre-register online at wjccschools.org. The first 25 qualified drivers to register and successfully complete the driving course will win each a $25 gift card. I may sign up for that one too. If not bus driving, other opportunities with WJCC Schools awaits you. Encourage friends, family, and neighbours to take the first steps to join our team next school year by coming to our job fair on Monday, January 27th from 9 till 11:30 a.m. or 4 to 6 p.m. at Warhill High School. We are offering on-site interviews and job offers to well-qualified candidates. Finally, part 2 of our three-part Family Academy virtual lunch and learn series, Brain Hacks, is this Thursday. This week's webinar will teach practical coaching techniques, goal-setting hacks, and action plans that work to support your student. Register online at wjccschools.org to receive the Zoom link. Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes my short report for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Heron. Are there any reports or announcements from board members at this time? No? Okay. All right, then we will move on to student and staff recognitions. Right? Yeah. Mrs. Hunley, will you grab me?
Good evening, Madam Chair. Tonight we are excited to celebrate 2 staff recognitions. First, we will honor our Technology Enterprise team, recipients of the Synergy Achievement Award. I'd like to invite Stephanie Lister, Eunice Gill, Kathleen Kolpitzer, and Kristen Barr to please come forward. Following the transition to Synergy enterprise team developed customized reports to leverage real-time data to track absence trends more effectively and implement targeted interventions before absenteeism escalated. The Synergy Achievement Award is a recognition from Synergy's parent company, EduPoint, highlighting the team's work and dedication to deploying the tool for maximum efficacy. The enterprise's team's efforts, along with support from staff throughout the division, is evident in our year-over-year decrease in chronic absence rates. Thank you and congratulations. Next, we'd like to recognize the work of our finance team. Joining us is Renee Ewing, WJCC's school's Chief Financial Officer. The Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada has awarded a Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting to Williamsburg-James City County Schools for its annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023. The Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in the area of governmental accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment represents a commitment to transparency by a government and its management. The finance team has earned a Certificate of Excellence from the Association of School Business Officials, ASBO International, for meeting that organization's high standards for financial reporting transparency, also for fiscal year 23. Congratulations, Ms. Ewing and the finance team. Madam Chair, this concludes recognitions.
All right, and now we get to move on to a school spotlight from Berkeley Middle School.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Herron, members of the school board. My name is Jonas Chigaritas, proud principal of Berkeley Middle School, and I'm here tonight to talk about the school spotlight at Berkeley Middle School. Our spotlight is titled Fun Friday. It's an event that we host quarterly at Berkeley to reinforce our MTSS behavior. When I first started as principal at Berkeley, students and staff met with me over the summer and discussed the good and bad of Berkeley, and one of the things that they talked about was Fun Friday. They wanted to keep it. It was a positive event. When students get to middle school, they typically don't have a lot of time with recess. It's kind of one of those things that just magically disappears off the schedule. And so in order for us to kind of have an event that kind of filled the void, we created a new Fun Friday. See, in the old days, we used to have Fun Friday every Friday, and teams would create the lists for Fun Friday, and they would work on a specific goal. It may be completing all your assignments or maintaining specific grades. And it was really good, but it was difficult to organize once we moved away from teams at the middle school. So the concept was tabled. Our MTSS team created a new version of Fun Friday, where on Monday of the week of Fun Friday, which for us is this week, so today, because we didn't have school yesterday, we had goal setting. Kids made up assignments, and they hold themselves accountable in order to take part in our Fun Fridays. And they usually occur on the last block every quarter. As you watch this short video, you will see various activities that we offer, and they range from crocheting, robotics, gaming, and we even do karaoke. Fun Friday unites the school in our goal-setting progress, so we prepare for learning, we act responsible, we work hard, and we show respect.
Fun Friday is a tangible reward that students work towards throughout the marking period. They're trying to get all passing grades, and they're trying to follow our pause matrix: prepare for learning, act appropriately, work hard, and show respect.
I was able to attend Fun Friday because of my grades and my good actions in school.
So the goal is to improve behavior as well as to improve grades. I think that kids who come to school want to be here for not just education, but they want to have a sense of belonging. And this allows kids who don't always do well in academics to find kind of a niche. It helps them kind of create their social groups. And so some of them will come out of Fun Friday having an activity or a hobby that they just picked up, or they get a sense of like a new group of friends that they kind of discuss these things with. and it makes them want to be in school, because when you have a friend or an activity or a person that connects you to school, you definitely want to be here on those days.
I was able to participate in Fun Friday because I got my grades up to be able to go outside.
The students get to pick out of 6 stations where they want to go, so they have some voice and choice in the activities for Fun Friday. They get to do various things. They get to go outside and have some relaxation. They can go into the library and experience the makerspace. So they have some opportunities to have some choice, but also some free time and to socialize, which is what they want.
I went outside to play football with my friends. What I like most about Fun Friday is on Fridays you don't have to always be taking tests and stuff, and you could go outside and play.
It becomes a serious thing around here in terms of improving grades and getting them involved. They advocate for themselves with teachers, so they go and seek them out to say, what can I do to improve my grades? So results have been that we have kids on the honor roll, for example, that have never been on the honor roll because they start early and they work on their grades, and so by the time the quarter ends, they don't have as much work to do.
I love that students are being rewarded.
Thank you, Mr. Chagritis. It's always fun to see innovative and creative ways to bring fun and belonging, but also that has the benefit of academic improvement, which is, of course, what our main goal is. So thank you so much for that. All right, and now we have regular public comment.
It is at this point in our meeting where citizens are invited to address the board. Those citizens desiring to speak have submitted speaker cards to the clerk prior to the start of tonight's meeting. These speakers are asked to come to the podium when their names are called, state their names for the record, and direct their comments to the chair of the board. It is the board's interest and desire that all comments are heard and respected. Hence, the citizens are asked to not engage in applauding, verbal outbursts, or any other type of demonstrations during the presentations. Personnel matters are not considered in public meetings, therefore the board requests that all speakers refrain from making reference to specific individuals in any form or fashion. Though the board does not respond to your comments are heard and appreciated. Each speaker is allocated 2 minutes to make their presentation, and the board asks that you respect this time limitation. Also, please be reminded that no time may be yielded to another speaker. Your acceptance and adherence to these guidelines will be greatly appreciated. Thank you, Madam Chair. My directions are concluded.
Thank you, Mrs. Donner.
Our first speaker is Kira Cook.
It's okay. I'd like to bring my former colleagues with me. Hopefully their name's on the list too. Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, and Dr. Herron. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight, marking Dr. Herron's final meeting as superintendent. In honor of her service to WJCC, I'd like to share a few remarks. In February of 2017, as school board chair, I was part of the decision to hire Dr. Herron as superintendent after her 4 years as deputy superintendent and 6 months as acting superintendent. Her leadership brought stability, integrity, deep instructional knowledge, and an ability to turn a good idea into great results, qualities WJCC benefited from over the years of her service. When the community expressed a desire for stability and strong classroom experience in the next superintendent, Dr. Herron delivered both, and for that we should all be grateful. On a lighter note, as school board chair, I often spoke with Dr. Herron. While unplanned calls usually meant bad news, I would always smile because even bad news sounded better in her Irish accent. Thank you, Dr. Herron, for your remarkable contributions to our schools and to the community. I'm truly grateful.
Thank you, Ms. Cook.
Our next speaker is Julie Hummel, followed by Lisa Ownby and Jim Kelly.
Hi, I'm Julie Hummel, and I served on the school board with Dr. Herron for 8 years. It was my distinct pleasure to work with her. And my memory is not the greatest, so what I had to do is go back through all of my notes to see all the hot topics we dealt with from year to year. So for my first term, we dealt with fun topics like building a new middle school, which of course meant we had to redistrict for that middle school. Then we also were dealing with career and technical education. We were dealing with issues with the state and federal budget at that time, really kind of bad economic news from the state level, and then also local funding issues. So that was our first 4 years. And in December of 2019, I thought, hey, redistricting is behind us, so we're good. I can sign up for another 4 years with Dr. Heron. And then 3 months later, COVID hit. So COVID was just like all of us, it's a dim memory now, right? But we're still dealing with it. There was a lot for a superintendent to have to deal with in a week's time, basically shutting down a whole school system, setting up a virtual school system, then dealing with a hybrid approach, dealing with the COVID funds that were coming in, how to disperse them, all of that. And then the next year you're dealing with vaccines and masking, and then that led to all sorts of other just kind of disgruntled people that felt one way or the other about any kind of issues. So we're dealing with transgender, we're dealing with critical race theory, we're dealing with banning certain books. Anyway, I just want to say that through it all, Dr. Heron was our wonderful captain of calmness. And so I will forever be honored that I served with you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Hummel.
Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Heron. I prepared my notes so I don't cry like I did when I left the board after serving with you for 5 years. We thank you for your steadfast leadership over the years. You led this division with unmatched professionalism and integrity. Your commitment to students, families, and our employees were unparalleled and always top of mind. Your steady hand led the division through unprecedented and difficult times, as Ms. Hummel just mentioned. As your former chair, I always appreciated your approach because it was thoughtful, level-headed, and calm, which I sometimes am not. You consistently asked for input and ideas from stakeholders. In the face of unpopular initiatives like redistricting, you still managed to do what was right for our students, even though it might have been unpopular. During the pandemic, your laser focus was on academics and safety for our students, for our families, and for our employees. You did not allow distractions to steer you off course. Your decisions, guided by data, protocols, and the best information we had at the time, ensured that this division and the institution would remain intact so that when it made it through to the other side, we could rebuild. And with your leadership, the division has done just that. The division has rebounded in enrollment and attendance and student performance. You have positioned this division to continue building on excellence. This division has demonstrated the ability to be responsive in the face of odds, and we thank you for that. Your dedicated staff, and you led the creation of online K-12 curriculum literally almost overnight. And while that wasn't popular with everyone and it was very difficult, education and safety was paramount. WJCC has expanded both programmatically and with bricks and mortar under your tenure. Even in the face of budget shortfalls and personnel shortages, you have led this division with the expectation that this division would achieve and perform at a premier level. And I just have to say, you're the very best superintendent ever. And I have 4 children in this division from 2002 to 2024, and you were the best. You are the best. And we are so proud to have served with you.
Thank you, Ms. Elmby.
Good evening, Madam Chair. It strikes me that there are very few superintendents who, on the occasion of their last school board meeting as superintendent, have the majority of the board who selected them to be the superintendent attend and say, yep, we did that. Because we're here to say, yep, we did that. Frankly, I'm not even sure why anyone would want the job of superintendent, but Dr. Heron, you have acquitted yourself well. So on the occasion of your last school board meeting, it is appropriate to reflect back on the journey. And it has been quite a journey over the last 7 years as superintendent and since 2012 with WJCC. It's been an incredible ride, and you have guided the school system through tremendous challenges and lots of change. There are too many accomplishments to mention here in the allotted 2 minutes, right, Beth? But we know that your leadership has been steady and solid throughout. During your time as deputy superintendent, I went to a conference at Virginia Beach, and when your name was announced as an organizer representing presenting WJCC, the Virginia Beach teachers started hooting and hollering, and I just looked around going, what have we got here? I didn't really know you well at the time, but the reaction of those teachers made a significant impression on me. You had been away from Virginia Beach schools for many years, and those teachers were really impacted and really respected you. It was a true testimonial of who you are in your leadership. That was the first time I really understood that you were something special. I got to know you when you became superintendent, and I think we bonded over our shared Irish sense of humor, our forthright conversations, and our wanting to do what was best for kids and teachers. There are many challenges running a school system this size. Some are public and some are not. Through all the challenges, you always kept in mind what was best for kids and what was best for teachers. That was your bedrock, kids and teachers. All of us who worked together, and we accomplished much, some big things like opening up this school, and so many small things which impacted lives and kids. We all shared lots of laughs and lots of good times. You tend to forget the hard times as the years go by, but we all got through them as well. There are certainly more laughs and more good times ahead as you move into retirement. I hope you remember the good times here at WJCC and the friendships and fellowship we shared. I know I will always consider you a great personal friend. Fair winds and following seas as you move on to the next phase. All our love to you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. And at the discretion of the chair, I will allow applause. Okay, no more applause.
Our next speaker is Kara McLean.
First, I also wanted to thank you, Ms. Herron, for your hard work, and God bless you in your next steps in your life, and just let He show you His goodness. I wanted to talk to you about a group, school board, that help girls that have found themselves in a situation of a possibility of having STDs or an unplanned pregnancy. I visited this facility, Newport News, and the workers there are some of the most caring, thoughtful ladies that I've met. Their care for girls and their futures are amazing. I am giving you information about what this group does, but also some testimonials of their love and care for the girls in our area. In 2024, over 900 girls were helped in some way. This group give all of their services for free. As many people give into this group, seeing it as worthwhile. Their services include free ultrasounds, free STD testing, free pregnancy testing, free options counseling, free parenting help, including help with clothing, diapers, and lots of love and care for girls and their babies. I am asking you to look into this group and to add to our list of WJCC community resource names for our students in Williamsburg, James City County. Every mom and every baby deserve a chance. Every girl in our town deserves a chance to have counseling when they are in a hard situation, possibly facing an STD or an unplanned pregnancy. And this group have walked alongside girls for 37 years, giving them pregnancy options, care, and kindness, making girls feel, regardless of their decision, that they are valuable and of great worth. Please look into this group. See for yourself if this is a group that should be added to our list of community resources for the girls in our WJCC schools. Once you see that they're a blessing, let the teachers, the health teachers and nurses and the principals know about this group. Alcove Health was on our WJCC community resource page in January of 2024. I'm not sure why it's not there now, but I asked you to look into it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McLean.
Our next speaker is Tabitha Dalton.
Hello, school board. My name is Tabitha Dalton. I am a parent of an elementary school student at Laurel Lane Elementary. As you all are very well aware, we have a bus driver issue. I say thank you for what you're trying to do to hire the bus drivers. But we also have a major safety issue that I don't think is being addressed appropriately. We have, personally at our school, but I know many other schools, we have been having issues where there are too many children on a bus that should safely not be that many children on one bus with only one bus driver. Bus driver's duty is to get our children safely to and from
school, but it is hard for them to do that, especially with some of the older children, not necessarily elementary, when they have to watch the road but also keep an eye on our children. We really should have someone else on the bus with our children. Also, the teachers are having to stay late, and I just found out they're not getting compensated for that. And I don't think that is very fair. That might be a budget issue. But it's sometimes hard to find the teachers that are willing to stay there to watch over our children while they're waiting for the bus to get there. There's been numerous issues with transportation, with communication, because apparently they don't have very many employees to keep there as well. So there have been many instances where the school's not even being notified when a school bus driver has to pick up another run, and it's going to be an hour late getting our children to even be picked up from the school, causing those teachers to stay an extra hour that were not planned. I know somebody else mentioned that we're a very prestigious school district. I mean, I personally moved here to raise my daughter in our school system because we were prestigious. So I think that we need to get back to that level. If we have over 50-something vacancies for school bus drivers, that's sad when we're not paying them probably enough when some of the other neighboring school districts are paying them a lot more. And I don't think that we should be held limited to that when they're, just because we might have a different demographic of need for that as well. Thank you for trying to hire some school bus drivers with your new program, and
Thank you,
hopefully
Ms.
it works out.
Dalton. Thank you, Ms. Dalton.
And our final speaker is Sharon Tyler.
Good evening, everyone. How are you doing today? I am a school bus driver. You're not going to see many of them here because most of them have to get up at 4 a.m. I have an easy year. I remember her name was Pat. She was my middle school bus driver when I was in 6th grade in 1982 in Newport News. The only driver that I remember her name, she smiled at me. She made us feel loved and cared about. Bus drivers do make a big difference in the lives of children. We do not have years of education as far as college is concerned, but many of us are parents and we've had practiced education. And we do affect the children that we see on a daily basis. Many of the drivers get up at 4 o'clock and they're on the bus sometime between 5:15 and 5:45 in the morning, freezing cold. We have to pre-trip our bus for 15 to 20 minutes in the morning. This morning, my hands particularly were absolutely in pain from the cold. Would like to request that somebody consider getting them some hand warmers. However, also, as she said, there are not enough drivers. Many drivers are having to fill their buses with 40, 50 to 70 students, 70 on an elementary run. Some of them have to do 2 elementary runs. Last year I had 12 kindergartners. That was like a rolling bounce house. Seat belts are recommended, but we do not have any. Would like to request that. It is chaotic sometimes. Sometimes it's easy, but it's absolutely worth the job. And for a final pump for it, the biggest self-esteem of it, every bus driver knows how to parallel park a school bus.
Thank you, Ms. Tyler. And thank you for driving a bus for us. We thank all of our bus drivers. All right, that was our last public comment. Thank you to everyone who came out. All right, we will move on to proposed agenda items. 8.01, review authorization of bus driver salary increase.
Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, and the 2024 Superintendent of the Year, Dr. Herron. I have to get that in, especially tonight. Tonight's proposed agenda item supports Priority 2 of the Elevate 28 plan and is being brought for your consideration is the review and authorization of a $3 per hour salary increase for bus drivers employed as of January 1st, 2025. The shortage of drivers nationally and statewide has proposed a major challenge to our school divisions and other localities. Arrival and dismissal times have been impacted with the driver shortage. In addition, we've contracted with a third-party vendor to get our students to school on time. The request would increase driver pay by $3 per hour. Starting pay would then be $20.76 per hour. The estimated cost of implementation is $172,000. The superintendent recommends the school board review the proposal for a $3 per hour salary increase for bus drivers effective January 1st, 2025, and be prepared to vote at tonight's meeting, January 21st, 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snipes. Are there any questions or comments from board members?
Question, Madam Chair.
Mr. Riffle?
Mr. Snipes, could you talk about how the pay be in parallel with our neighboring divisions and where we will lie after we do this type of raise?
That would probably be a better question for Mr. Baker. I can answer based on last meeting. I think we were last in the surrounding school divisions, and this would put us somewhere close to first, compared with York, Gloucester, New Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Snipes.
I'm sorry, can you just repeat the comparison with York, Gloucester?
York, Gloucester, New Kent. Other localities such as Hampton and Newport News may be a little higher. But again, Mr. Baker may be able to.
This would put us on par with the first ones you mentioned.
Yeah,
okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That will come back again under action items later in the meeting. And now 8.02, review revisions to the school board's standard operating procedures. This, I guess I'll take it. We went into a mini retreat at the end of our last meeting. A board member requested the addition of adding a moment of silence to our regular meetings. This is something that occurs in all of our classrooms. In fact, it's just been at our last meeting and in the state of Virginia, it's just been increased from a moment of silence to a full minute of silence. So this is something that occurs after the Pledge of Allegiance in every classroom in our school division and allows students and staff to center themselves and reflect before engaging in the next activity. And so we think it's fitting that as a school board, we mirror that as well. And so our board agreed to make a change to our standard operating procedures and insert a moment of silence following the Pledge of Allegiance at our regular meeting. So that is something we will then officially be voting on later. Any other questions or comments from board members on that? Okay. I will move on to our consent agenda. Once again, it is quite lengthy, so bear with me. Part of the reason we've had these lengthy consent agendas is because we've made a concerted effort with the lead of Dr. Keever and his staff. The board has been trying to catch up on updating policies. We're required to update all of our policies every 5 years, and of course they're staggered throughout those 5 years, but we've made a concerted effort to make sure that everything is updated. So this is a final push, and then we probably won't see too many of these long policy consent agendas for some time. We will begin with 9.01, approval of financial report and monthly bills and payroll for November 2024. 9.02, approval of financial report and monthly bills and payroll for December of 2024. 9.03, approval of minutes from the special call meeting on January 9th, 2025. 9.04, approval of minutes from the budget work session on January 9th, 2025. 9.05, approval of minutes from the organizational meeting and work session on January 9th, 2025. 9.06, approval of minutes from the school board retreat on January 9th, 2025. 9.07, approval of resolution R225, Black History Month. 9.08, approval of resolution R325, Career and Technical Education Month. 9.09, approval of resolution R425, National School Counseling Week. 9.10, approval of review of policy AFA, evaluation of school board operational procedures. 9.11, approval of revisions to policy BG/GBD, and then the reverse of that, GBD/BG, board staff communications. 9.12, approval of revisions to policy GA, WJCC employee conduct. 9.13, approval of revisions to policy GDQ, drug and alcohol testing for motor vehicle operators. 9.14, approval of revisions to policy IE, moment of silence. Approval of revisions for policy KB, public information. Approval of, 9.16, approval of revisions to policy KF, distribution of information materials. 9.17, approval of revisions to policy KGA, sales and solicitations in the schools. 9.18, approval of revisions to policy KGB, public conduct on school property. 9.19, approval of revisions to policy KH, public gifts to schools. 9.20, approval of revisions to policy KJ, advertising in the schools. 9.21, approval of revisions to policy KL, public concerns and complaints. 9.22, approval of revisions to policy KMA, relations with parents' organizations. And finally, 9.23, approval of revisions to policy KQ, commercial, promotional, and corporate sponsorships, partnerships. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Riffle. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hunley.
Mr. Riffle.
Aye.
Dr. Cavazos.
Aye.
Ms. Chen.
Aye.
Mrs. Donner.
Aye.
Mr. Hosang.
Aye.
Mrs. Hunley.
Aye.
Mrs. Ortega.
Aye. On to individual action items. 10.01, approval of personnel actions. Can I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to approve personnel actions as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Hosang. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Riffle.
Mr. Hosang.
Aye.
Mrs. Hunley.
Aye.
Mr. Riffle.
Aye.
Dr. Cavazos.
Aye.
Ms. Chen.
Aye.
Mrs. Donner.
Aye.
Mrs. Ortega.
Aye. 10.02, approval of VSBA Code of Conduct for school board members. Can I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the VSBA Code of Conduct for school board members as presented.
Thank you, Mrs. Donner. Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Riffle.
Mrs. Donner.
Aye.
Mr. Hosang.
Aye.
Mrs. Hunley.
Aye.
Mr. Riffle.
Aye.
Dr. Cavazos.
Aye.
Ms. Chen.
Aye.
Mrs. Ortega.
Aye. 10.03, approval of revisions to the school board standard operating procedures that we just discussed.
Madam Chair, I move to approve revisions to the school board's standard operating procedures as presented.
Thank you, Mrs. Henley. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hosang.
Mrs. Hunley.
Aye.
Mr. Riffle.
Aye.
Dr. Cavazos.
Aye.
Ms. Chen.
Aye.
Mrs. Donner.
Aye.
Mr. Hosang.
Aye.
Mrs. Ortega.
Aye. 10.04, approval of purchase request of UKG time clock terminals. Can I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the purchase request of UKG time clock terminals to Andrews Technology for a total cost of $136,970.
Thank you, Mrs. Donner. Is there a second?
I second.
Second.
Sorry, give it to Ms. Chen.
Mrs. Donner.
Aye.
Mr. Hosang.
Aye.
Mrs. Hunley.
Aye.
Mr. Riffle.
Aye.
Dr. Cavazos.
Aye.
Ms. Chen.
Aye.
Mrs. Ortega.
Aye. And 10.05, approval of authorization for bus driver salary increase.
Madam Chair, I move to approve authorization of the $3 per hour salary increase for bus drivers employed as of January 1st, 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Riffle. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hosang.
Mr. Riffle.
Aye.
Dr. Cavazos.
Aye.
Ms. Chen.
Aye.
Mrs. Donner.
Aye.
Mr. Hosang.
Aye.
Mrs. Hunley.
Aye.
Mrs. Ortega.
Aye. All right, and then we will move on to board member comments. And for this evening, we have a single solitary topic. So I will start at this end. Mr. Riffle.
Okay, with my seatmate. Well, I'm new to the board, so I can talk about my previous experience with meeting Dr. Herring, which was through a screen in 2021 and 2020. As we were going through COVID, my boss instructed me to watch school board meetings across the region, and you were the best of all of them. I feel like they lucked out having someone with such strong demeanor. You were able to remarkably navigate that unprecedented time and challenge and really lead on the peninsula and Hampton Roads, and so we're grateful for that. When I decided to run on the board, I was genuinely excited to work with another public servant, somebody who had worked so long and in time here to people and to our community. And so I did an analysis of your time as a legislative analysis at heart. I was like, what has Dr. Herring done? Let's do a deep dive on who she is, what she's accomplished over 7 years. You've done some remarkable initiatives like working on the restorative center, overseeing redistricting. During your 7 years of leadership, you managed over $2 billion of school funding, which is just remarkable and something that some other divisions can't say they've done. You've brought so much wealth to this community, and people will feel that for years to come. Despite the significant responsibility of that price tag, I want to mention that your team has demonstrated an exceptional ability to anticipate overcoming expenditures while they maintain a high level of service. So as we see needs in our division, you're seeing it years in advance, and you're predicting what the state will ask for outcomes. And you're not asking for too much, you're asking for your share, and you're really doing your part. So you're a visionary, and you had a dedication to our community that is truly unparalleled. As you received your award this year, it was more than your time to be the superintendent of the year, and so we're very proud to have that. Dr. Herring, you're a fierce advocate for students and educators, and you can feel that by people who sit in this room and who come and see us month after month. They're not here to see me; they're here to see the work that we implement and put on your plate, and we are pushed to our community. So you're a strategic leader and someone who approaches every challenge with intention and thoughtfulness, and I can see that. Thank you for your years of service, Dr. Herring, and setting such a high standard of excellence. You'll be deeply missed, and I selfishly will miss having the best seatmate on the table. So, but jokes aside, your impact will be felt for years to come, and I'm proud to have worked and gotten to know you. You're a true public servant, and I'm grateful to call you a friend. Cheers, and let's grab that pint sometime.
Thank you, Mr. Riffle. Mr. Hosang?
Thank you. Dr. Herring, I just want to thank you for your leadership, your guidance, and most of all, your patience for the past year in guiding this board with 4 new board members. I'm sure that wasn't an easy thing to do. But one thing I'm definitely going to miss is being able to talk to someone who absolutely understands Irish dancing.
Absolutely.
That's something that most people, especially, no offense to anyone on the board, but don't understand, so I definitely appreciate that. And I'll just leave you with an Irish blessing. May your troubles be less and your blessings be more, and nothing but happiness come through your door. Just want to thank you very much for all you've done, and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Hosang. Mrs. Hunley?
So I was a teacher in the division when Dr. Herring was not a superintendent, but on staff. And I remember there was this big kindergarten issue, and you have to remember I was 30 years probably into being a kindergarten teacher, because I retired with 36 years in 2020. And there was going to be a change that was not best for our students. And I was hot under the collar, to put it mildly. And when I went in the room with the superintendent for our meeting, because I was the Education Association president, I only saw one person in that room. And that's the one person I wanted to talk with, because I'm very humble and soft-spoken, and I want everybody to win, but when you mess with my babies, my children, you see a different side of me. And I was ready to pounce, and then this voice of reason came from the opposite end of the table. And I looked down at the opposite end, and there was Dr. Heron. I never saw her when I walked in the room, but I heard her. And she wasn't very loud. She was soft-spoken, and what she said was a solution to everything. And it was great because I didn't have to show out, right? So, but the hardest thing I think for me was going from teacher to school board member. I don't think anybody in this room would understand what it's like to go from her being my boss to me being her boss. She was so patient with me, and I got my hand slapped lots of times because she was my friend as superintendent. She was still my friend, pre-superintendent, still my friend as superintendent, but she had to set those boundaries and teach me that I was no longer a teacher now. I was on the board, and I struggled with that for at least 2 years. And so that was very hard, but she helped me through it, and she's still my friend. And she has done some amazing things for this school division. I can't even name them all. And I just would like to say, when she made a joke about driving the bus, there was a video the school division made, I think it was after COVID, and Dr. Heron drives up in the bus. She's driving. Now, I don't know if that was technology that made it seem that, or did she really put her foot on the pedal, or did they give her, maybe she did do the 20 seconds, whatever. But then they all got off the bus, and everybody came into the gym, and they just danced. And Dr. Heron does have some pretty good moves. I wouldn't call those Irish moves, but she has some dance moves. And so I never say, I've said this before, I never say goodbye to anybody. It's be blessed till I see you again. So I'm not going to say goodbye to her. I know I'll see her again. But I would like to say that whatever you do, I do hope that you dance. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Hunley. Dr. Cavazos?
Oh, thank you, Dr. Heron. I wish to truly express my tremendous gratitude for your service to the WJCC School Division, your leadership and guidance to our educational and administrative staffs, and your stewardship of the school board. I pray for your best health and continued success in all your future endeavors. You're truly a benevolent and caring educator. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Cavazos. Ms. Chen?
I'm going to try not to tear up. I just want to second everything that's been said during public comment as well as here so far. I think I'll just add some personal stories that I have. I remember when Dr. Heron, you came into my classroom when I was a new teacher in WJCC, and you were so encouraging and kind to the students and engaging. And I think just your presence in a space makes people feel like they belong and you care about them. So I appreciate that very deeply. Also, just as a parent in the division, I remember when you started, I had two in elementary school, and the sense of, I guess, relief and also just from teachers and staff and parents and families that you were going to lead our division was something that we wanted, and we were very happy about. And so it's a very bittersweet farewell, and part of my decision to even be brave enough to step onto this board was because of your example and your leadership. And this past year working with you has been a huge privilege. Your patience and your guidance mean a lot. And one last story I'll say is my daughter came home and she said, I saw Dr. Heron at our school today. And I think, that's just one small story that I have, but I think that's a story across our entire division. The fact that a student knows who you are, your consistency, your dedication, your commitment, putting students first. I'm just forever grateful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chen. Mrs. Donner?
Dr. Heron, it's just been a pleasure to work with you over the last 2 years. Coming onto the board, I had my preconceived notions about WJCC and experiences, and in having those opportunities to have one-on-one conversations with you whenever I had something that was challenging or of concern, you are someone who just dials right in and truly listens and takes action. And I think that is one of the hallmarks of your leadership, is that it is not just the lip service of like, yes, we'll fix that, or yes, we can do that. You're very clear of like, yes, that's something we can do and I will get on it, or no, that's something we can't do and this is why. And I think that I appreciate that transparency as a parent and as a board member. I also just appreciate the dedication that you have to our faculty, our staff, and to our students. And I know you're in a position to make decisions that are often unpopular. You're in a place where you can't if you make one group happy, you're probably making somebody else upset. But that you have that courage to make those hard decisions and have those hard conversations, whether it's with people in the division, whether it's with parents, with students, or with the community at large, our funding partners. And so I just appreciate all that you have done there. And I think also to what Ms. Chen said, I've just watched how you interact with the breadth of our students, from our kindergartners and our elementary school students, and the way that you can engage with them on their levels and make them feel special, all the way up to our high school graduates, our middle schoolers, our GED program. I think everyone who comes through WJCC, you don't make a distinction about how they got here, why they're here, how they're doing. You're here to really support every student. And so for that, I am grateful as a board member, but most importantly as a parent. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will conclude by, of course, echoing everything that's been said. From the moment that I first met Dr. Heron, which was actually in candidate orientation, so we were still candidates and hadn't gotten through the election yet. But from that moment until today, I was struck by how warmly Dr. Heron welcomed me and the other candidates. She didn't know who was going to win, and she was just so warm and welcoming and affirming, and I appreciated that from the first moment on. Throughout the first year, it was a somewhat controversial first year. Lots of big decisions were being made about schools closing and opening, and masks and no masks, and lots of things that people had strong and differing opinions on. And sometimes we were in agreement, and sometimes we weren't. But it was always a welcomed conversation, and it was always very respected. I always felt respected, regardless of what it was I was advocating for. And I appreciate that, because I think that's one of the main things we need in our society more. We have to be able to have conversations and sometimes be on different sides of an issue and be respectful in order to move the whole conversation forward. I know that you are a fierce advocate for students, and you care very deeply about every single staff member in this division, regardless of the position. You know them, you know their job, you care about them, and you want to see them succeed and do better. And Mrs. Donner was mentioning how you also connect with the kids and the students. I think in some ways you're a kid at heart, you're a teacher at heart, you're an administrator at heart. I think you connect with everyone on every level because there's a little bit of that still in you at every level. And something else that was said is you do exude a sense of calm and steady in the face of a crisis, whether it's a tense moment in a meeting or a larger crisis. You are someone that I think board members and the community can look to get a sense of calmness and direction, and I appreciate that very much, and something that I strive to exemplify in some of the situations that I'm in when I can. You exemplify high road leadership, and that's not always easy, especially when there's a lot of criticism to go around. As the leader of this division, you always strive to make the best decision for the whole division. And in fact, announcing your retirement when you did, the fact that this is your last meeting and this isn't occurring in December of this year is an example of the type of leader that you are, because you chose to leave early, potentially at your own detriment, because that gave us the longest lead time as a new board to conduct the kind of search that we needed to do, to have, you've walked us through the different steps, you've advised us, and you've given us a lot of help along the way that you didn't have to do, and that's probably not something that is obvious to everyone, but that is the hallmark of a true servant leader, and that's very much appreciated by me as chair, trying to lead this effort. I know it's appreciated by the board as a whole, by your staff, and I'm sure by the community. And I just want to end with your signature line that I always appreciate. And whenever you deliver bad news, I think someone mentioned bad news before, that the Irish accent was helpful, but I always like it when you end the bad news with a twinkle in your eye and you say, "It's all good." So with that, I wish you a very, very happy and well-deserved retirement. Thank you. Sure. I know in a minute Dr. Heron has something she'd like to share.
Dr. Ward, if you would get out the duck, that would be very helpful. Thank you very much. Before we start the meeting, before we start my comments, thank you so much indeed for those lovely, gracious and generous remarks. Truly, truly appreciate it. As you are well aware, everyone, by now, this is my final board meeting, the last of about 188 board meetings leading the school division, and I believe I've only missed one. That's a record. Tonight, as I say my formal farewell to this wonderful school division, my heart is filled with immense pride in what we've accomplished and deep gratitude for the incredible people that I've had the opportunity to work with in WJCC schools. Over 13 years, 8 as superintendent, 8 next month actually, I've witnessed firsthand the dedication of our teachers, the resilience and talent of our students, and the commitment of our support staff, the vision of our leaders, and the unwavering support of parents and community. It's been a privilege to be a part of our collective commitment to excellence. And I can say with confidence, we live our vision, pursuing excellence and championing the success of every single student. You've heard tonight we've navigated many challenges, embraced innovation, celebrated countless achievements, from academic breakthroughs to artistic productions, which we all attend, from athletic accomplishments to meaningful community partnerships. To the school board, both current and former members here this evening as well, and all former members, thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve as superintendent of WJCC schools. Thank you for your trust in my leadership and your steadfast support through all 8 years. We've worked very hard towards the common goal of ensuring the best possible education for every single student, and I appreciate deeply your insight and the collaboration you've brought to every decision. Thank you so, so much. To our funding partners, the City of Williamsburg and James City County, thank you for your support, both financially and in spirit. Your support has been instrumental in the success of our schools. You have always understood the importance of investing in our future. Our students and our community is stronger because of the collaboration that we've shared. To parents and community members, thank you. Your partnership has been invaluable. Your active involvement in your children's education and your unwavering support of our schools has been the foundation of our success. To our teachers, staff, and administrators, all 2,000 of you, thank you for your dedication to our students. You are the true heroes of this school division, shaping minds and inspiring future generations. WJCC students will continue to thrive, achieve, and make a positive impact on this community because of you. You are truly the reason for our success, and I've enjoyed every single moment working with you. And finally, to our students, I say, always remember that education is a gift, and the knowledge you gain here in WJCC schools will open doors to endless possibilities. Give your best every day, and know that we're all here for you. Serving as superintendent of WJCC schools has been the privilege of a lifetime. I will cherish the memories we've made together, and a huge piece of my heart will remain in Williamsburg James City County Schools. As I step down, I leave a school division that has demonstrated growth in student achievement across all groups and in every school. A division in which every school is fully accredited. A division committed to continuous improvement with a strategic plan to guide our work for the next 4 years. Innovative programs to support student learning and incredible community partnerships, too many to name. The state of our school division is strong. And that is due to the incredible work of WJC administrators, teachers, and staff, and the leadership of the board. Thank you. This evening, I am full of optimism and hope for what lies ahead for you. I wish you joy in learning, unity of purpose, and continued success in the years to come. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Dr. Herron. And I wish we could just leave it at that, but we do have to run through a few events and finish our agenda. Our upcoming events, Career Ready Advisory Committee will meet on January 22nd at 3:30 p.m. in room 300 of the Annex. The annual Martin Luther King Jr. ACTSO Award Luncheon was postponed due to weather a couple weeks ago and will now be on January 26th, 25 at 3 p.m., still at the Williamsburg Hellenic Center. And the VSBA Capital Conference will take place on January 27th, starting at 1 p.m. at the Hilton Richmond downtown. I think most, if not all, board members will be attending that. Our upcoming meetings. We have a special call meeting on the 30th at 11:45 a.m. in room 300 of the Annex. And then we have our closed session on February 4th at 4 p.m., room 300 of the Annex, followed by work session and action items. Also on February 4th at 4:30 p.m., also in room 300 of the Annex. Then on February 18th, we will begin closed session at 6 p.m. in room 300 of the Annex, followed by our regular meeting, also on the 18th at 6:30 p.m. here in James Blair Middle School Gymnasium. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.